Hi, this is Nate Jones, Freedom of Information Act Coordinator and researcher and FOIA requester at the National Security Archive, broadcasting live from our vault. And I'll note that this is just a fraction of the documents we have. And I'm happy to announce today that we are posting the second of three-part series on the 1983 Able Archer War Scare. And today's posting is pretty cool because for a long time, lots of people had talked about this Cold War mystery, and lots of books wrote about it, and lots of memoirs wrote about it, and people analyzed it, but I don't think I've ever seen any official documents even confirming the existence until today's posting. These documents are important for a couple of reasons. First, they show that up until now, most of the dates reported were incorrect, even those by Olaf Gordievsky. And they also show that the scope of the exercise until this point, I think, was understood to be much smaller than it actually was. The documents today show that Able Archer 83 was the finale of Autumn Forge 83, which was a month-long, basically, practice of NATO's war against the Warsaw Pact. And it started with the United States shipping over in 170 radio-silent airlift flights troops to Germany, and then over a series of months, they simulated a tank war and other wars in Europe. And finally, when the tank wars turned hot, Able Archer came in and simulated a nuclear war. I'll just note quickly that it wasn't a routine exercise, or there were several elements of it that weren't routine. One was the radio silent flight. Others were a wrinkle where the command post had to go to a new headquarters to simulate a nuclear attack. They had to, we now know for the first time, they had to communicate with cells in London and Washington, D.C. to get permission in the drill to launch nuclear weapons. And there's also, according to one Air Force report, quote, slips of the tongue of describing conventional attacks with airplanes as nuclear strikes. So, some things to add to the debate. Finally, I'll add just one more really interesting document that's would be scary even if relations weren't at the worst since the Cuban Missile Crisis. And this is a NATO summary kindly provided by SHAPE describing what exactly Able Archer 83, the nuclear phase of this war practice, the original war had thousands of troops. This nuclear phase has much fewer, but this is what this is how the world ends. So, in early 1983, according to NATO, there was lots of problems and changes in leadership with the Soviet Union, which mirrors the truth. The Soviets were mad that they were losing a grip in the Middle East, and they were unable to provide consumer goods to Eastern Europe. Then, Yugoslavia asked for Western help, the West gives them hope, and the Soviets get angry. They start amassing their troops along Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia, and then, on Halloween 1983, in this scenario, the Soviets invade Yugoslavia. Soon after, they invade Finland and Norway, and then they cross into Germany. At this point, NATO gets active, they fight, they hold their ground all right, and then the Soviets begin using chemical weapons against NATO troops. Then, in early November, NATO asked for permission to use first strike nuclear weapons against Warsaw Pact cities, selected strike. They practice in this drill getting permission, and NATO launches the first nuke. But according to the exercise, the initial limited use of nuclear weapons against pre-selected targets does not stop the Warsaw Pact's advance, so they request follow-on use of a general nuclear strike. At that point, they go through all the capitals simulated, agree to start a nuclear war, and do a simulated launch of their weapons, and then the exercise is over. Chilling stuff. Check in for part 3.